Oh, that's kind of funny.
Sorry.
That's all right. I always talk from the heart, so I'm not going to say exactly what I say.
Okay, perfect.
So anyways, hi, everybody. My name is Sue. I'm from American Consumer Credit Counseling. And like I was saying, through my studies, I've learned a lot about identity theft. I keep up on it, but unfortunately, I've helped a lot of people that have been victims of it. So when I go through this whole PowerPoint and everything that I'm going to talk about, please interrupt with questions if you have them. And also, I take things from a very conservative point of view. Again, I've helped too many people that have been victims of identity theft. So I am very conservative in my ideals. It is kind of a scary thing for a lot of people. So we're going to talk about ways that it happens. We're going to talk about different types of identity theft, how to protect yourself as best as possible, and what to do if you become a potential victim or an actual victim of identity theft. And again, I welcome the questions along the way, and slow me down if I go too fast for you. So basically, identity theft is anytime somebody uses your personal information for any reason. They're committing fraud, they're doing crimes. Identity theft happens in a lot of different ways, but it hits senior citizens and active duty military and veterans more than anybody else. And that's because their information's been out there more than anybody else. If you remember, after 9/11, it took a while, but because of so many forms of identity theft, the government started getting a little bit smarter on the way that they did things. Social Security cards and your Social Security number used to be out on Medicare cards and Medicaid cards a lot. A lot of people were collecting data on everybody, including your Social Security numbers when you went in the hospital. For the military, unfortunately, dog tags or people's Social Security numbers. And for veterans going into the VA hospital, their Social Security number was on their wristband. Now, your Medicare cards do not show your Social Security number. You do not have to give out your Social Security number if you wind up in a hospital or a doctor's office. In fact, even though their forms still ask for it, you should not be putting it there. The only information that they need is your name, billing address, and your insurance information. For active duty military soldiers, they have been switched back to military IDs instead of Social Security numbers. And for veterans now in a VA hospital setting, unfortunately, their last four is still used, but not their entire Social Security number. So again, people are getting more serious about it as time goes on. People will steal your identity for many, many reasons. Imposter scams, debt collectors are really high on the list for different types of fraud. And I know I'm showing you Massachusetts stats. That's because that's where my organization is located, even though we're national. But you can get an idea of the different types of identity theft by looking at this. Also, when we look at the top types of identity theft, credit card fraud is still one of the main ways that people will use your information. But employment identity theft has been on the rise. And this came about with all the money that the government was giving out for unemployment insurance, to the point where the Federal Trade Commission's website actually crashed for people claiming fraud. And they had to rebuild their website. And I will talk about their new website at the end of the PowerPoint, because I think it's very, very helpful. So the first way identity theft happens is old-fashioned dumpster diving. Dumpster diving is anytime you throw away anything, people are shuffling through trash. They may come into your house, the person that's the plumber, one of the kids' friends, somebody that's desperate might rifle through your paperwork. So we always say to lock up documents. Ladies' pocketbooks should not be left on the kitchen table. Neither should there be a catch-all table for mail and things like that. Gentlemen, wallets should be in drawers, not left out in the open. We want to make sure that things are out of sight, out of mind. But any paperwork that you have should be shredded. If you don't own a shredder, I say burn it and or minimally rip it up in several different pieces, throwing it away in several different trash barrels. Now, for the people in the audience, I'm going to ask you a question. And you guys that are virtual, you can tap your mics so that you can speak. You do have the power to do that. What do you need to get rid of? Anybody?
Somebody says credit card numbers.
Credit card numbers?
Account numbers.
Any
the
type of
different
banking
purchases.
account numbers and things like that, yeah.
Sure.
So when you're getting your statements in, after you've gone over them, the ones that you don't need should be shredded. What else should be shredded? Any document that has your name, address, any personal information with your social security number, account numbers, or anything else, even your date of birth, should go through the shredder if you do not have to keep it. The things that you should be keeping are anybody?
Bank statements, somebody says.
Bank statements up to a certain point in time, yes.
Any correspondence from Social Security or Medicare.
The Medicare correspondence for 1 year. What about your passport? Your social security card, your birth certificate, your tax returns. All of these things should be locked up. Okay, so if you have a file cabinet with a lock, you should be locking them up at home. If you don't, bank deposit boxes, the small ones, cost $35 in most banks to rent. But your tax returns should be kept for 10 years. So they might not fit in that lockbox. So you want to have something lockable at home, but definitely not have things out. I actually had a woman that took my course, and she was telling everybody that when her credit cards or library card or anything like that was no longer usable, she would cut them up and put them in a Skippy jar. And when the Skippy jar got full, that's when she threw it away. So we want to make sure that we keep our documents. And just if anybody's curious, you can fix a tax return or correct one for 3 years. The IRS can audit you for 7. And after 7 years, if there is something wrong with one of those tax returns, they can go back 10. That's why we always say keep at least 10 years worth of tax returns and any reportable documents. Also with your house, any documents that you use to do additions, major renovations, those stay with your tax return stuff because when you sell your house, they are deductible. So when somebody gets enough information about you, they actually could order something over the phone or by mail in your name. And sometimes they will have that redirected to another place. Obviously, they're shipping it to them, not to you, or they might ship it to a different address where they can go pick it up. I actually ran into a woman at my local post office about a month or so ago, and she was a victim of this type of identity theft where her mail was redirected. She didn't know it at the time. She just was like perplexed on why her mail was going to someplace in New Jersey when she lived in New Hampshire. So I overheard her talking to the postmaster, and I let her know that she was probably a victim of identity theft and the steps that she needed to take. So somebody can redirect your mail. Identity theft does happen, for crimes, but it also happens with employment, with insurance, with medical, with all different types of things. So we do want to be very careful on how we're handling everything in all of our paperwork. And if something is out of place or you haven't received a bill from somebody that you know you're supposed to be receiving it from, question it. Make sure that you check in your statements. Another type of identity theft happens when somebody may steal your information off of your debit card or credit card. And usually that's a skimmer that they've used to do this. Skimmers come in many different shapes and sizes nowadays. The original skimmer, if you all remember, we went from having paper with the carbon in between, and we used to rip up the carbon when we went to the stores and pay for something. The original skimmer was just a card reader, and it usually was on the right side of a register where you couldn't see it. And the sales clerk would slide your card through. You'd put in your code, or you would sign the paper after the paper came out of the register. As simple as that. But there were several different groups of people that had extra card readers, and they were double dipping on your credit card or your debit card. They were sliding it through their their reader before they slid it through the machine, just so that they could get your information. That's why most stores now have you slide your card yourself. What you're seeing on the screen right now is an ATM machine. ATM machines are a known place that people will attach skimmers to. If the face of the machine where you put your card in, and you see it flashing there with the red bar around it, if that looks like it could poke out in any way, shape, or form, or the machine does not look flush, do not use the machine. Go inside and talk to the teller. And you should not be using ATM machines that are not attached to the bank. You can do your transaction inside, let the teller know, they will check the machine for the next person. The reason why I say do not use ATM machines that are not attached to the bank is they're vending machines. I had a group of gentlemen taking a harbor cruise in Massachusetts that were out of a veteran site. And each one of them pulled $20 out of an ATM machine that was on the harbor. And it wasn't giving them receipts. They thought it was out of paper. One of them contacted me a few days later. His bank told him he was overdrawn for $200. We found out from a couple of the others that they also had an issue. So we contacted the bank. Come to find out, the person that owned the machine, remember these are vending machines, just like a candy machine, was moving the decimal point over. Luckily, it happened to enough people at the same time that we were able to recoup their money. So if it is not attached to a bank, I say avoid the ATM machine. If you are at a gas station, you may not see the card reader that the criminals insert because they insert it inside the gas pump. So most of the gas stations nowadays have a magnetic tape. And if I can use my mouse here, you'll see where I'm circling right now. There's a lock on this ATM. Well, on a gas pump, there's also a lock. So gas station attendants will check the machines, the gas pumps, and they will put a magnetic strip over that lock and date it when it was last inspected. If that looks tampered with in any way, shape, or form, go inside and do your transaction at the register. Simple as that. Skimmers are there for convenience, but I've noticed over time that the more convenient people make things for us, the less protection that we have. Another type of skimmer out there is called the cube, and it attaches to a phone. And it's real simple. Somebody swipes your card, you sign right there. Supposedly the information goes up to a cloud and you're all set. You'll find these at a lot of fairs. Even the Shriners use them. They're attached to their tablets and things like that too. I want to know from you all, what is wrong with that? Anybody have a clue?
No.
Okay, thank you for speaking up, Michael. So, unfortunately, number one, you are using something that is not hardwired. If the machine is not hardwired, anybody that has a Lexus computer system can hack into it. Secondly, your information is going up to a cloud, and there is a code attached to the phone that it can be brought back down from the cloud. Now, somebody that has the techno brains, if the phone or the tablet is lost or stolen, can hack into it easily. But thirdly, it's done wirelessly. Like I said, anybody with a Lexus system can pick up every keystroke that is typed in an open Wi-Fi area. Lastly, the information is stored in a cloud. We found out a couple of years ago with some actresses that had their personal pictures, say it nicely, stored in a cloud. And a paparazzi actually hacked into the cloud, stole the pictures, and sold them. Well, the actresses brought the paparazzi to court over stealing their personal pictures out of their personal clouds. The judge threw it out of court. He said, when you store your information on somebody else's server, it is no longer your personal information. A cloud is somebody else's server. So for the fact that we don't want to use those for our safety, for our account information getting out, bring cash when you go to these types of places. Downtown Crossing in Boston, Barnes and Noble bookstore got hit by somebody that was sitting outside. Their cash registers were not hardwired. This person was sitting in a van collecting all the data that was being done on the cash registers. During COVID, Chili's, the food chain, restaurant chain, I should say, got hit because somebody was able to hack into their tabletop machines. If you remember at Chili's, most of those places, they have the tabletop machines where you can pay for your check right there on the tabletop and also play games with your credit card. Not a smart idea to do. When we store things we should be using a hard drive that we own. So an external hard drive to store your information on. It should never be stored in a cloud. Again, I talk about the most safe way to do things. Not everybody is going to think about doing things the most safe way, but because of how many people I have helped with identity theft issues, I am very, very old school. When we think about collecting data, I had mentioned something a little bit about this already, but I want to reiterate. People will play scams on you. They will try and get your information from you. The IRS is never going to call you. If your kids are stuck in Canada and somebody else calls you that they need you to transfer money, call your kid or your family member or friend or whoever it is. Do not take anything that you hear over the phone at face value unless you recognize the voice. People will try and grab information from you. If you call your bank, they're going to have you verify who you are. They're not going to call you to verify your information. If somebody says that they're from your credit card company and they need to verify things, or you had a problem, whether it's by email or by phone, hang up. Do not talk to them. Call the company yourself from the phone number on the back of your card. I have even had people that have had phony bill collectors call them. They didn't know enough information about the debt that a person owed, but it wasn't the legitimate company. So if you did not initiate a phone call, you do not answer any questions, you do not give out any information. I don't know you. I don't know what you're talking about. Send me hard copy documentation is all you should say. And you don't give out your address to send that documentation to. They already know if they're the real company. People will try and get information about you so that they can purchase things in your name or commit other crimes in your name. I actually have had people that were brought into the police station because somebody else committed a crime in their name and they had to prove it wasn't them. If somebody gets enough information about any of you ladies, say it's me. I could order something over the phone in your name and nobody would be the wiser nowadays, unfortunately. Gentlemen, if I know enough information about you, I can order something online in your name and nobody would be the wiser. Please protect yourself and your wallet. If you're in a store and they don't ask you for ID, granted, the federal law changed so that now any transaction under $50, they're not supposed to have to. Make a stink about it. Say, I want you check an ID. I want you face recognition or signature recognition, unless I'm putting in my debit PIN number. Because the debit PIN number, I am not sharing with anybody else. This is going to protect you and it's going to help protect people next in line. Right before COVID, Amazon was going to do facial recognition software on orders that they got. For some reason, they decided not to. I don't know if it was the expense or backlash, but I wish they did, because you don't know how many victims I see on people stealing information and ordering things in other people's names. So please watch out for scams. Watch out for phishing, which is those things that you get online. And we've got to learn to protect our computers too. Did you win that trip that you never entered the contest for? Don't know how many times I've been Pavarotti's next of kin. All these things are just fishing for information. Don't fall for it. So the biggest problem with identity theft and why it's grown so much over time is the age of the computer and the age of the internet. You didn't hear much about it except for somebody stealing your wallet previously. And if somebody stole your wallet, they're selling your information for $50 a pop on the street, or they're using it themselves. It may be for somebody else to get a job. It may be for them to get a license. It may be to order something that's in your name. I've seen many different scenarios, so we do have to be careful. But we also have to be careful of malware and viruses on our computers and our phones. So what I have learned over time is to make sure that anybody I work with has their computers at home set up so that their malware and virus protection run first thing every morning. You should shut down your computer if you are not using it. Nobody can access your computer if it's shut off. If you are using your computer, run that malware and virus protection and run a full scan before you start your day. About 7 years ago, the reason why I learned this the hard way was I was a victim. So I was doing some work on my computer. I did not run my malware and virus protection, and I didn't do a full scan like I normally do. One time, next morning, I brought up my computer. I had a warning on the screen. FBI, you've been watching kitty porn. I don't watch kitty porn. Go down to Walmart and get gift certificates and blah, 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 blah. And you have to load it up or you'll never be able to use your computer again. I learned my lesson. I had to have my virus protection people backdoor into my computer to update the malware and virus protection and get rid of the virus that was in it. It cost me a whole lot less money than what they wanted, but I had to take care of it so that I could go on with my work. So please remember to update your virus protection and your malware software every day and run full scans every day. On your phone, you should be watching for the updates as well. But on your phone, you have to protect yourself even more because there is also another skimmer out there that is on devices that look like phones. And there's twofold ways that you can get hacked. One of the devices can pick up the chip and or the magnetic strip on your credit cards and debit card. We protect ourselves from this type of identity theft by using an aluminum wallet, or we use the sleeves that you can get at your bank to put your cards in so that people can't pick up that information off your cards. But we got to think of your phone as well. Number one, I tell all my clients, never, ever, ever do anything financial over your phone. That should always be left to a hardwired computer if you are one of those people that does online. I personally do not do anything by phone or online because I've seen so many victims. Everything of mine is I go to the store, I watch my surroundings, and or I use cash. But if you do, you have to think about not doing it on the phone. Your phone should be protected. If it's lost or stolen, guess what? Anybody can hack that information. Number two, on your phone, somebody can also scan your phone and duplicate it. Got to be careful of that. So in the settings of your phone, and I'm going to bring mine up so you guys can see the settings screen. I'm going to try and do this right so that you can see it. with me while I put it up to the window, and it's not going to pick it up. Oh, there we go. All of my apps in my settings, I had it a minute ago, are shut off. So your Wi-Fi should be always shut off. Your Bluetooth should be shut off unless you're using it. Personal hotspots should be shut off. And data sharing should be turned on, meaning no data sharing. I'm sorry, no data sharing should be turned on. This is going to protect you one layer and only one layer from anybody hacking into your phone. If they have their device close enough to your phone, though, to duplicate your phone, they're still going to be able to access anything on it and take the whole phone and open up anything that they want.
I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
How close do you have to be? You said that you have to be like the device would have to be close enough to your phone in order to scan your phone and get the information. Do you have any idea how close that is?
I don't know specifically, but it is, I think, within a few feet. I don't know specifically, though. I do have a case that happened with somebody at one of the Army stations, which her and her husband are both in financial part of the Army. And she was out someplace. She never leaves her phone out of sight. But somebody did duplicate her phone, and they got a call from USAA a few weeks later. First, the husband got the call from the bank, and the bank was asking him, because he's in the military, if he was out in Vegas or if his wife was out in Vegas at the moment. And he was like, neither one of us are. They were both part of the OPM breach. So their bank was watching their stuff. And the bank told him that somebody was doing transactions at an ATM and pulling money out of their accounts. They both got on the phone with the bank and they watched this happen, several transactions right after each other. And somebody was rolling through all of the family accounts. The only one that had the family accounts on their phone was the wife. So the bank did shut it down. It took them 4 weeks to get their money back, and their new accounts opened and everything fully recovered. But this what happened because somebody had walked by her in a coffee shop or someplace and duplicated her phone. So being cautious about your surroundings is very important. And remember to shut your phone off if you're not using it every so often. You don't need it on 24/7. This will also help the phone reset with the new updates.
Can they duplicate your phone if it's locked?
Yes, they can. They're duplicating the phone itself, and they have to be a good hacker to unlock it, but they could do it. So it's just better to keep it shut off if you're not using it. And like I said, not having your financial information on your phone is a good step. But
Yeah.
I know a lot of us have things like emails and other data on our phones, so it can be a little bit hard to totally cover.
Are there any apps that we could download on phone, or what would you suggest to try to protect that?
I did not hear that.
I've gotcha. She was asking if there are any kind of apps that you could download on your phone to try to protect it from something like that.
We do have malware and virus protection on our phones nowadays. If you have the ability to get a VPN on your phone, that's going to help you as well. But if somebody duplicates your phone, I mean, it's going to make more layers for them to hack into it, what they duplicated. But somebody that's sophisticated to get one of those machines that can duplicate is going to be one of those people that knows their stuff. I am not a tech guru, so I just tell people, don't do anything financial on your phone.
So if my understanding is correct, are you saying that like you don't need to download an extra app for virus protection because that's something that's already on your device?
It should be. You can check with your carrier, but it
But-
should be already on the phone. You would have to download a VPN if you wanted to get a VPN on your phone. That you would have to download. And again, I would check with your carrier on the best VPN to get that works with your device. My
because-
way of staying away from it, nothing financial on the phone.
we have another question here.
Yep.
We have a question about what a VPN is.
It is a virtual protection.
I think it might be verified private network or something.
There you go. I was going to say virtual protection network, but verified protection network. Yeah,
So I think isn't that it's
it
something
encrypts your phone. So it's an encryption software.
sure.
So is your phone safer as long as you're not using Wi-Fi, just using the phone server?
She wants to know if your phone is safer as long as you're not using Wi-Fi, as long as you're just using the phone server.
If you're just doing a regular phone, you're better off. But make sure, like I said, there's no data sharing. And you can find that in your settings. You want to make sure your Bluetooth and your Wi-Fi are off. The next layer is that VPN. And then the next layer is just not doing anything financial on your phone. And the best layer on your phone is turn it off. Nobody can hack into a computer or a phone that is shut off.
So the danger, if you were connected to, if you had your Wi-Fi on, is the danger like if you connect to public Wi-Fi, is
That is
like,
the most dangerous.
yeah.
That's
So
the most dangerous.
if you're on like the library's Wi-Fi, for instance, I certainly wouldn't be doing any kind of transactions. I would not do that.
Yeah.
All right, do we have any more questions?
There's something I've seen advertised called Duck.
Oh, DuckDuckGo.
Yeah. Is that real?
Yeah, go ahead.
DuckDuckGo is, all right, she's talking about the difference between something like a Google search engine, which pulls data of
yes.
who you are and where you shop, things like that, versus a DuckDuckGo, which does not collect data on you. I don't know any other levels of security that DuckDuckGo has, but I know that they don't track you.
Yeah, so whereas Google is like collecting your personal search information.
Yeah.
Stop people from tracking you. I mean, like, okay, I am so old. Your computers were big as a house. And now my great-great-grandchildren have gifted me with these gadgets. I don't understand even the vocabulary they use. And when you use letters instead of whole words, I have no idea.
I apologize.
I have signed up for the computer courses that start here next week. And maybe I won't have this headache there. Because I'm paying and I don't understand nothing. Thank you for your time.
I appreciate you coming in.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's it.
With this, but being close to 80, it is my prerogative to retire from this room.
If you'd like, if you stop by the reference desk, that desk on your way out, I know we have a couple of books on like how to use phones and computers for seniors, which very helpfully break it down in a way that's, so I would maybe ask at that desk if they can look up some of those books for you, those might be helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
And everyone who understands this, I congratulate you. I shall dismiss myself. I can't keep up. I tried.
Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you here and offering you service.
All right. Do you have any more questions? All right.
Okay, so if I'm understanding, the internet piece of that got a little bit more complicated for that woman. But guess what? She's probably the safest one of us all. If she's staying away from the scams from the phone, she is probably more safe than anybody else in this room, because she's probably doing things the old-fashioned way like I do, write a check. But there are check washers out there still. So you do have to be careful with your checks and read your bank statements. Make sure that they've been handled properly. Sometimes you'll find that somebody will code things backwards. So I have found pennies and dollars for people and things like that on bank statements. But if you are somebody that does do online banking, I have a friend of mine that teaches the same thing. She is an online person. I'm an old-fashioned person. She watches her bank statement now on a nightly basis because she's been a victim of identity theft 3 times. So you check your credit card statements and your bank statements at night when you get home. Make sure that none of the transactions have been fraudulently done. When I get my bank statements and my credit card statements in the mail, I go over them and I save my receipts until they come in so that I can check up the receipts to the statements to make sure everything was smooth. This is very important because of the laws. Another thing that's important is to let your bank know when you are traveling and when you're doing things out of the norm. When I travel, I call my bank. I let them know I'm going to X city and I am taking my, checkbook, and I will be coming home on X day. The reason I do this is because a lot of banks, which they lose billions of dollars each year to identity thieves, they don't recoup it. We can recoup it through the insurance if we act fast enough. But they will stop any activities that they think are out of the norm, just like the person I told you about that worked on the military base. I had a client that moved from California to Massachusetts, and she moved by car, and halfway through her move, her bank had shut down her debit card because they saw the transactions going from state to state to state, and she never told the bank that she was moving. They were protecting her. Unfortunately, she got stuck in the state that she was in for 2 days while they reactivated her card under a different number and got it to her. She had to pick it up at a local bank. But they were doing that to protect her. If I tell my bank that I am on a trip, but I will be home on X day, and they see transactions after that date, I actually have protected myself within the law for identity theft. So when it comes to identity theft, we do have to ask questions, and we do have to watch what we're doing. Ask anybody why they need your social security number. Obviously, if it has to do with payroll or taxes or grant money that you're receiving, they may need it. But ask them also what they're going to do with it and how they're going to protect it. like I said, you go in a hospital, they no longer need it. They may ask you for it and you just say, you don't need that. Here's my insurance information. If you have an issue with Social Security, that's one of the hardest things to take care of. But you can contact the Social Security Administration and they will walk you through their steps. For other forms of identity theft and scams, I was already talking about the magnetic strip, bankruptcy fraud, tax fraud. You guys have all heard about that. You can get a PIN number attached to your Social Security number. Now, anyone can do that, but you have to do it on a yearly basis. It will be a different PIN number each year when you're filing your tax return to protect yourself from tax fraud. If you are a victim of identity theft when it comes to your tax returns, the IRS will issue a PIN number after you've proved that it's you, but anybody can request one now. Investment fraud is another one that we have to worry about. Phone fraud, we already talked about. Rental fraud, make sure that if you're looking to rent an Airbnb or something else, that you make sure that you are checking them out with the Better Business Bureau and back checking them. This comes to house renting and apartment renting as well. Things on Craigslist we've all heard about. And what I was talking about, medical fraud. If I show up on a gurney in a hospital and somebody had stolen my information for medical use, if they changed my allergies or they changed my blood type, that could be a real issue. So when you see your doctor on your yearly exam, most doctors' offices will run through all your prescriptions with you and everything else on your account or on your record. That's why they're doing it, to make sure that there's no issues and nobody's changed anything on you. And as I said before, preventative actions help us not become victims of identity theft. But if you are a victim of identity theft, and this is why I told you when I travel, I always tell my bank up front what's going on, not only to protect me to be able to do the transactions I want to do, but to help me with the law, is if my debit card, checkbook, or somebody hacks into my account, I have 2 days to notify my bank of a lost or stolen check, debit card, or issue. They can hold me in those 2 days by federal law for $50. Now, most banks will work with you a little bit longer than that. If you report it within 60 days, they can hold you responsible for $500 between 2 and 60 days. At that time, you've been deemed to have looked at 2 bank statements. And unfortunately, the bank can hold you responsible for the entire thing. It now becomes a much more difficult thing to prove that it wasn't you, because you should have been looking at your bank statements. And now you have that fight. With credit cards, it's a little bit more time. With credit cards, you have 60 days to file a report with the credit card company that, you didn't do this. After that 60-day time period, they can hold you responsible for the whole thing. Prior to the 60-day, they will take care of it. When we are checking our bank statements, like I said, check them when they come in, check your credit card statements. That's when you report an action. That's when you report something wrong. It could be a mistake, but you want to take care of it right away. Identity theft is the one crime that they call the victim's crime, and they call it the victim's crime for a reason. It's the one crime we have to prove that we didn't do what the transaction says we did, or what they say we did. Getting a copy of your credit report from all 3 credit reporting agencies can also be a benefit to you. Normally, going to annualcreditreport.com, which is the one-stop shop through the federal government for real, for free. That is the only spot that I ever tell people to get their credit report from. But normally you can get a copy of your credit report from each reporting agency once a year for free. Due to all the issues that they had with COVID and with the identity theft that caused the FTC to put up a new website, you can actually through December 31st get a copy of your credit report on a weekly basis if you wanted to from each TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax. That would drive me crazy if I was doing it that often, but you can. When you're on annualcreditreport.com, like I said, it's the one-stop shop through the federal government for real, for free. I don't say get the score, just get your free credit report. Look at the meat and potatoes. Look at the address lines because it has any place that mail is sent to you, phone numbers that you've ordered things from, and it has the activity of all of your accounts. If there is something incorrect, you can dispute it right there and then. Do the dispute. Annualcreditreport.com will go back to all 3 credit reporting agencies for you and the creditor. The creditor will have 30 days to tell you why you owe the money or to remove it from your credit report. You're entitled at that point to a second copy of that credit report if you did a dispute. I always tell people wait 60 or 90 days to get that second copy because paperwork always takes time to catch up to itself. If it's still on there at that time, you can dispute it again, stating that you had not gotten any response. So through the FACRA Act, Fair and Accurate Credit Reporting Act, it must be removed, and they will remove it because now you've got the paperwork, you've got the trail. When we're looking at our credit report, like I said, we want to look at everything on it. Make sure that it's accurate. If you are a potential victim of identity theft, another thing that I would state is put a fraud alert on your credit report. A potential victim is somebody that has not been attacked yet. Target a few years back during Christmas time got hacked by somebody in, I don't know, Eastern Europe someplace. It was a young kid. He had everything sold on the black market that night, but it was reported on the news. If you were a shopper of Target, you would look at your credit card or your debit card and figure out which receipt it was on. You would contact your bank and have your account number changed. Have your PIN number changed. That would be enough, and have a fraud alert put on your credit report. A fraud alert used to only last for 7 days and then you could have it extended. Well, now it lasts for 7 years. And basically it tells any store, hey, this person's got a fraud alert. Make sure it's really them before you open up an account in their name. It's a red flag, nothing more. If you're an actual victim of identity theft, I would freeze the credit report. Do not get the lock, but freeze it. After Experian's issue with them being hacked, freezing your credit report became free. It used to cost money. When you freeze your credit report, the credit reporting agencies will issue you a PIN number or a password that you cannot lose. You need to keep it in a safe spot where you know that where it is. Because anytime you need to access your credit report or you need to allow somebody else, say you're getting a new job or buying a house, you want to allow somebody else access to it, you have to, and this is their words, not mine, thaw it out 48 hours prior to allowing somebody access to your credit report, and then refreeze it afterwards. So not only the fact that it's frozen from other people, it's frozen from you unless you use that PIN number or password to thaw it out. Okay. Ultimate protection of your credit report and people not being able to open accounts in your name. When we think about all of this stuff, we want to think about one more thing that happened when they allowed freezes to become free. Credit reporting agencies still want to make money, right? So they added this thing called a credit block, where you, for a fee, can freeze and unfreeze your credit report yourself. Flip of a switch. Sounds good, but if you get the lock and you're doing it on your own, you give up all recourse to the credit reporting agencies if it doesn't lock when you lock it, or if it doesn't unlock when you unlock it. So they have no liability anymore. And that's why I say get the freeze. It's the best protection on there. When we're looking over, I just want to go over real quick what we were talking about before. I know I did not add in before things about passwords and PIN numbers, and I'm going to add that in now. But dumpster diving, shred it, bills, statements, review your credit report. Skimming, use trusted locations. If it doesn't have a lock on the address bar, you want to make sure in your emails or when you're searching different sites on the internet that it is locked site. That gives you a little bit more protection than an open site. But you do want to watch for skimmers when you're using your ATM machines, bank machines, and register machines. When we are thinking about mail fraud, we want to make sure that we have a locked mailbox, that we deliver mail to the post office, because there are, unfortunately, groups of kids that sometimes go around stealing mail out of people's mailboxes. And out in my area, last year, they found some kids that were trying to fish mail out of one of the blue postal boxes that was in a mall. So we do deliver things to the mailbox directly, and you can get a PO box or you can get a locked mailbox at home where the mail carrier can put the mail in, but you need a key to open it up. Keep minimum amount of things with you. You're not going to walk around with your social security card on a regular basis. Keep that locked up at home. Only take credit cards and debit cards that you need to carry with you in your purse or wallet. Everything else should be locked up at home. Be careful of unsolicited calls. We already talked about that one in depth. With emails, you should not share your PIN number or social security number with anybody. I don't care how much you love them, how close they are. Unfortunately, I've seen many bad divorces or boyfriends and girlfriends breaking up. And unfortunately, my mother was a victim of identity theft by my oldest sister. So do not share any of that information. We also want to make sure that we think about all the different ways that things can happen and protect ourselves as best as possible. Changing passwords and PIN numbers every 3 to 6 months. Making sure our passwords are long. Let Me In is one of the most famous passwords out there. Password is a password. 1, 2, 3, 4 PIN number. Let Me In. I think I just said that one. I apologize. But there's so many small, easy, hackable passwords. You should have capital letters, small letters, numbers, asterisks, punctuation points, whatever. And your password should be something long. 8 to 10 characters at least. And you should be changing it every 3 to 6 months. If you need to write it down, it should go someplace under lock and key. And you can change one character in that password every 3 to 6 months, and that can be enough to keep you from the people that are just hacking into hack passwords. Protecting ourselves as best as possible is always key. And avoiding, people coming close to us, our wallets and things, having those aluminum wallets and things like that. If you are a victim of identity theft, there are other steps that you do need to take though. Number one thing is that fraud alert or credit freeze on your credit report. Second thing, we want to close any accounts that were affected. So if it's your bank accounts, they're going to change your bank account number and reissue you new debit cards. If it's just the debit card, like I said, you weren't a victim, then you can just change the debit card and the PIN number on the debit card and you should be okay. If it's a credit card, you want to request a new credit card with a new account number. They will shift your history. So you're not going to lose your history on your credit report, but you will get a brand new credit card number. You want to make sure that they're doing their internal documents and following up with it. But even if your bank says we're going to research this internally, you still need to do the external parts. So the next thing is file a police report. Most police officers now know about identity theft. It's rampant out there. They may do the police report and rubber stamp it. They may not look into it unless there's a group of things going on in the local area. That's okay. That is your proof that you've been a victim of a crime. The last thing is going to the Federal Trade Commission. Now, like I said, I need to share something different with you because this slide still tells you to go to www.ftc.gov. During COVID, because of all of those issues with identity theft, and while I'm talking, I am going to stop sharing so I can bring up the actual website. But the Federal Trade Commission website kind of crashed. So they decided that they had to do a brand new website for identity theft. And so now the website is much better. And hang on one second. You're going to go to identitytheft.gov. And if you notice on this brand new website, unemployment insurance identity theft is right there at the top. And that was what happened. There were so many issues with unemployment insurance identity theft that it crashed the FTC's website. So they decided to bring up this new website. And if you go to the old one, it is going to redirect you over here. So if you don't remember idtheft.gov, if you go to ftc.gov, you can find the spot to get here. But on this website, you are going to click on the type of identity theft that happened to you. It is going to start loading the Federal Trade Commission website with your information on the type of identity theft, and it's going to generate a letter on their letterhead for you that you can send out to your creditors and the credit reporting agencies or anybody else that you need it for. It also is going to give you the same checklist that I was just mentioning about identity theft and what to do if you are a victim of it. And it also is going to give you a calendar reminder of when to follow up on different things. So a lot of the work that I've been doing with people that have become a victim of identity theft, the Federal Trade Commission actually has input into this website, which makes my job a whole lot easier writing letters for other people. But it reminds you of what to do. Remember, when you're a victim of identity theft, it is not a rabbit and hare type thing. You're going to be the snail. It does take time to recover. But the faster you get on it, the easier it is to take care of it. So I feel bad because that young lady that left the class, it was the part on the computers was a little over her head. Like I said, I'm not a computer guru either. But one last thing that I do want to mention is when you get rid of your phones, please put them in an acid bath and or drill holes through them. That's the only way to get rid of the hard drive in your phone. You do not trade them in and let somebody use a magnet to erase things. You don't bring it back up to factory security settings because there's ghost images in there. If you are getting rid of a laptop and or a tablet, same things apply, because you have to get rid of the hard drive. That's where the information is kept. In a regular computer, I used to think, I'm not a computer person. Oh, you take the hard drive out and you smash it on your driveway with a sledgehammer. Wrong. You have to open up that hard drive, take out the floppy disk, like we had in our old-fashioned computers, and that's what needs to be destroyed. Again, don't save things on a cloud. Save them in an external hard drive, and please keep that under lock and key. So that is the end of my presentation. I am sorry that I scared you all, but it is a scary thing when you become a victim of identity theft. And yes, this slideshow can be shared. In fact, that's why the library is recording this, so that this can be shared. And I'm sure that some of you guys have some stories yourself. So I am going to stop talking and let you guys share or ask any other questions that you may have.
And before we bring it to questions, you were just on that FTC website and I saw the lock that you were talking about. Would you mind, for anybody who might not know what to look for, could you bring that website back up and show the little lock
Sure.
that makes the website is secure?
Sure. Hang on one quick second. So see right here, this little gray spot, there is a lock. That is a secure website. If that had the top part poking out, it would be considered unlocked, which is no longer secured.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Does anybody have any questions? Either, shout them out, or if you're in the chat, go ahead and type something and I'll read it out.
Can we also send the handouts to other people?
Yeah. The handouts that you guys got, the library also has it digitally. So if you want to give your handout away, you can share it with anybody. American Consumer Credit Counseling, the organization I work for, is a national nonprofit financial education organization. So we work in all 50 states. You can also go to our website, consumercredit.com, which is on the back of your gray workbook, and on the other identity theft material that you got. And we blog, we tweet, we have all kinds of information on our website that's all free to the public.
And we have a question in the chat. Somebody was asking, I don't know if you do, but if you have any particular brand of antivirus and malware protection for your computer and cell phone. Do you have anything that you like?
Well, for my cell phone, my company has a VPN on it. I use my work phone mostly. For my personal cell phone, it's just a phone. I don't use it for internet or anything else. That's my form of security for me. For my computer, the company computer, they have their own security. I have Avis on mine, but there's so many different types of security software out there. It's ridiculous. For my personal computer down the street from me, I have my security team. They actually do backups on my computer for me twice a year, and they make sure that my VPN and everything else is all set. So, and I do pay them for that, even though it's my private stuff, because I think it's worth it.
All right, and we've got a couple of thank yous in the chat as well, so I wanted to convey that.
Well, thank you all very much. I hope you guys got some good information out of this, and I didn't scare you too much. It is a scary topic to talk about. And I look forward, Jess, to working with you, maybe doing another go round of budgeting and credit, or talking about building wealth or anything else for these folks.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys can keep an eye either on like our physical materials, if you're not on the internet too much, we do put out calendars with all of our events on them, like in paper. Here at Blasco, they're kept kind of next to the front circulation desk. So if you ask any of the clerks there, they could get you one of those paper calendars to look at for like that month's programming. But if you are an internet person, all of that stuff is kind of kept together on our website at events.erielibrary.org. That's the direct link right to our calendar. And you can see on there any of the upcoming events. If you scroll to the bottom of the page, then you can choose like which calendars to view specifically and get, different calendars for different library branches. That'll give you kind of like the entire catalog of programs that we are going to be offering, in the coming months, published on those calendars. And if you have any, trouble navigating our website, figuring out where to find any of that information, you can also give our reference desk a call at 814-451-6927. That's the direct line to the Blasco information desk, and ask any questions that you might have there of the reference library, and they'd be happy to help you. So yeah, keep an eye out for any future financial literacy programs we've been doing, one every month or every few months. So it has been a recurring thing. So do come back if you enjoyed this.
Could you
Great.
please put the website in the chat?
Sure.
Thanks.
One second. That is our calendar, and then the phone number for our reference desk is there. I assume that's what you meant, right? when you asked for a website.
And I'm putting our website on there too, just in case.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate your time. Just wonderful seeing you again.
You as well.
Folks, thank you all very, very much, and have a great Labor Day weekend.
I will send you all the recording here after this program is over. Yeah, thank you for coming. Let me go ahead and end this recording.